Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we're taking a deep breath and plunging into a topic that keeps a lot of people in nonprofits and other mission-driven organizations awake at night, securing grants.
hmm
It looks simple from the outside, fill out an application, wait for a check. But, well, anyone who has been in the trenches knows it is a high-stakes strategic game.
It absolutely is.
Yeah.
And if you're just, relying on luck or copying proposals from last year, you are operating at a severe disadvantage. We've compiled a massive stack of sources today, all drawn from some really specialized training content that's focused on grant proposal writing. Our mission is to quickly pull out the strategic intelligence, the most critical parts, and maybe some hidden insights that you need to shift from just applying for grants to actually winning them.
So we're not just listing topics here, we're identifying the strategic leverage points, the core ingredients for grant success. Based on these materials, they seem to boil down to a few key areas. Things like rigorous prospect research, cultivating genuine relationships with funders, crafting transparent and compelling budgets.
And building that bulletproof narrative about your impact.
Right, and also establishing an effective evaluation mechanism before you even start the work.
Exactly. This isn't just about good writing. It's about organizational readiness and alignment. Now, before we dive into all the mechanics, if you want to immediately start exploring these skills, we have to point you to the resource we analyzed today. Just head over to grants.courses. There you'll find educational videos and an incredible amount of detailed content on mastering this stuff. It's really the application layer for everything we're about to discuss.
Okay, so let's unpack this foundation. The sources, they immediately highlight that good training is available for everyone, from staff members who need advanced skills to, volunteers just taking on their first writing tasks.
And what's fascinating is how the training is segmented. It really recognizes that grant writing isn't one skill. It's more of a suite of organizational capabilities. They break it down into 4 essential pillars.
4 pillars. Okay, so tell us about the first one. What are the absolute must-haves?
We start with the basics. This is your foundation. It's making sure your legal status is clear, your mission statement is defined, and your team, well, they understand the language of grants. Without that bedrock, everything else just kind of collapses.
And often that first pitfall is the money, right? The budget.
Absolutely. The second pillar is budgets. And the training specifically says you have to nail down this essential grant proposal section.
Nail it down. I like that. It implies precision.
It does. I mean, think about it. A strong story is what gets a foundation interested, but a messy or a vague budget, that's the #1 reason they walk away.
But budgeting isn't just about listing expenses. It's about justifying them, isn't it? Especially tricky things like overhead or admin costs.
That's the secret. So many nonprofits are afraid to itemize administrative overhead. Rent, utilities, the CEO's time.
Yeah, because they worry funders will see it as wasted money.
Exactly. But strategic grant training shows you how to integrate those indirect costs logically. To demonstrate that the program just can't run efficiently without solid institutional support, it turns the budget from a simple accounting sheet into a strategic roadmap.
That reframes the budget completely.
Okay,
Moving to the third pillar, the materials really emphasize planning.
this is where that saying, plan for grants and you'll get more, really comes from. We're talking about strategic planning that happens months, sometimes years, before a funding cycle even opens.
So it's less about drafting the application itself and more about building the organizational muscle to apply effectively.
Right, which leads directly to the 4th pillar, readiness.
Readiness.
Readiness is basically an organizational self-assessment. The sources frame it as tackling the critical question, do you have it all together to get grants?
An honest internal audit.
But very honest audit. Do you have recent audited financials? Are your evaluation metrics defined? Does your board actually understand and support your grant strategy?
I see. And it's great that the content isn't static. I'm seeing mentions of grant writing live events and even grant proposal writing podcasts.
Yeah, that continuous learning loop is vital because once you have the basics down, the real work starts.
The research and strategy.
That's it. The strategy that comes before the writing is what guarantees you're not wasting your time.
Okay, let's dive into that research element then, because you can write the most persuasive proposal ever, but if you send it to the wrong funder.
It's a complete waste of time. The materials stress grant research as the, quote, path to success. Finding the right funder isn't just about matching keywords. It's about understanding their history, their giving philosophy.
And this is where it gets really interesting for me. The specific training on reading a funder's 990, how can it help me?
Yeah.
So for our listeners, the 990 is the tax form for foundations. It's public record. Why is it so critical to dig into that document?
Because the 990 is the map to their actual giving behavior, not just their published guidelines.
Ah, so it's what they do, not what they say.
Precisely. A foundation might say they support youth development, but the 990 could show that 90% of their dollars actually went to large urban organizations. You can see who their board members are, what size grants they usually award, even if they've suddenly lost or gained a lot of assets. It's genuine insight.
So if they always give grants of around $50,000,
Yeah.
asking them for $500,000 is probably not a great strategy.
It's a dead end. And that due diligence is what makes this a professional strategy. The sources are constantly reminding us that funders are more than money, which means you need to build a relationship based on real understanding.
Okay, let's pivot a little, away from private foundations to the other huge funding streams. Corporations and government, their motivations are totally different.
Oh, completely different worlds. They require unique strategies. A foundation is often motivated by legacy, by philanthropy.
Whereas a corporation,
A corporation is motivated by profit and brand association. And a government agency is all about public mandate and very rigid compliance.
so for corporations, the sources highlight corporate relations and grants. I saw there was a free course, What Corporate Sponsors Really Want from Your Nonprofit. What's the secret there?
The key is corporate social responsibility, or CSR. Businesses aren't just looking for a tax write-off. They want documented, measurable impact that aligns with their brand values.
So it's co-branding.
It's very often co-branding. You have to pitch your mission not as a charity case, but as a high-impact, low-risk marketing partner.
That is a completely different vocabulary than you'd use with a foundation program officer.
It is. And then you have government funding, which is, well, it's maybe the most bureaucratic of them all. There's a whole section on government relations and grants because the complexity is just exponential compared to private grants. Compliance is everything.
I see a course example here. Government contracting, what you need to know. What is the strategic difference between a government grant and a government contract?
This is such a critical distinction.
Yeah.
A government grant is financial help to achieve a public purpose. The relationship is about supporting your mission.
Okay.
A government contract is a procurement tool. The government is hiring you to perform a specific service, like providing meals to seniors. You're legally obligated to deliver exactly what's specified.
So the reporting and compliance must be much more intense.
Far more stringent. You really need specialized knowledge to avoid, frankly, a financial disaster.
That detail alone makes the case for training. Okay, so we've covered strategy, research, funders. Let's talk about the modern tactics, the tools and grant types offering new opportunities.
Yeah, technology is undeniably reshaping the field, and the training materials address this head-on. There's a whole focus on technology, and it specifically mentions AI and so much more.
Now, we're not suggesting that AI can write a compelling, tailored proposal from scratch, are we?
Absolutely not. But what it can be is a potent efficiency multiplier. The courses teach you how to use it to speed up prospect research, to summarize really complex background documents, or even draft initial boilerplate sections of a narrative. It frees up the grant writer to focus on the human stuff, tailoring the story, perfecting the budget, and building that funder relationship.
Got it. And one of the most accessible tech-based grants is the Google Ad grant.
It's truly a different kind of grant that can boost your mission. These are non-cash grants. They give you up to $10,000 a month in-kind advertising credits.
And the sources have strategies on how to use that, like turning $10,000 into $100,000, and a guide for applying this year.
Right, because optimizing those ads is its own skill. You need to understand a bit about SEO and ad management, and you have to stay current. The materials mention a breakdown of LinkedIn's new ad grants, which just proves you have to constantly monitor these new channels.
And that vigilance, it extends beyond just applying, right?
Right.
It goes into proving the money was well spent.
Which brings up the critical question of accountability. Program evaluation.
The did we do it right part.
That's the core of it. It's the essential piece that closes the funding loop. I saw a course called Program Evaluation, Getting Volunteer Feedback, which shows how evaluation is woven into everything. It's not just some report at the end.
And the materials seem to also support the people doing this work with content targeted specifically for grant writers.
Yes, if you're an in-house expert or a consultant, you need professional guidance. Topics like charging for grant consulting, make sure people are following best practices, calculating fees the right way, understanding the ethics of the field.
So for anyone ready to formalize this, to move toward real mastery, the sources introduce something called the Grant Writing Skills Suite.
Yes, this is where the training becomes a comprehensive journey. The suite is a two-course bundle designed to take a learner from an introductory level to, well, intermediate competence. It's aimed at anyone involved in gaining funding for a nonprofit's mission.
So let's break that down. The first course?
Introduction to Grant Writing. It establishes the foundation, the 6 stages of grant writing, but crucially, it positions grants within the organization's overall fundraising strategy.
So grants aren't this isolated thing.
They can't be. That's a huge mistake. And then the second course, Advanced Grant Writing, is where that strategic refinement we've been talking about really kicks in.
The push for excellence.
Exactly. It challenges you to ask these iterative, critical questions to sharpen every proposal until it rises to the top of the pack.
And this is where something called the logic model comes in, which seems strategically very powerful.
The logic model insight is maybe the single most transformative tool in the advanced training. It forces ironclad alignment. It's a visual tool that links your resources, your inputs, to your activities, to the direct results, the outputs, and finally to the long-term changes you want to see, the outcomes.
So instead of just saying, we need $10,000 for a youth program, you're showing how that $10,000 is directly tied to, say, reducing specific negative behaviors by 15% over 3 years.
You got it. It forces you to justify every single resource request.
Yeah.
And it ensures your evaluation strategy is baked in from day one. The advanced course details how a logic model can shore up a proposal and push everything from good to great.
That comprehensive view is really what separates the novices from the professionals.
It really is.
I also saw specialized content for small nonprofits to help them get and grow. And for those seeking formal recognition, there's the option of certificates and academic courses.
That sums it up perfectly. The ultimate takeaway from analyzing all this is that success in grant writing is really an exercise in strategic alignment. You have to view the process holistically, from that deep dive research into a funder's 990s all the way through to advanced tools like the logic model. The grant writer is. They're basically the translator between the organization's mission and the funder's priorities.
It's clear that a sophisticated approach is required to win consistent funding today. So, here's a final provocative thought for you to think about, pulled straight from these materials. Should you write grants into your annual budget? I mean, think about the implications of budgeting for money you haven't secured yet. Does that signal readiness or recklessness?
That's a fantastic strategic question. It forces every organization to really evaluate their risk tolerance and their grant readiness. And remember, if you want to apply these insights right away and start mastering the things we've discussed, the 990 analysis, the logic model, government contracting, just go to grants.courses. They have educational videos and all the comprehensive resources you'll need on grant proposal writing.
That's all the time we have for this deep